Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Slow Blink Anime. This is Phil,
And this is Candace.
and today we're talking about a very special anime, both of us, especially for Candace.
Yes, Gintama. And we are going to talk about why you should watch Gintama.
All right, so why don't you start us off, Candace?
Okay. Well, first off, for us to convince you why you should watch Gintama, you need to know what Gintama is all about. If you haven't heard of it, or maybe you've heard of it, but you don't quite know or you don't quite care what it is, just because it's not as popular as Naruto or Dragon Ball or any that or One Piece or all that kind of anime. And so Gintama is about this. If you read online the description of it, it tells you about all these aliens that's called Amanto that came down in Edo, which is like the old name of Tokyo. And then they invaded the place, the area, and then they basically got rid of the samurais.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it became like a place where samurais are kind of like banned.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this man, which is the main character. His name is Gintoki. He's the one that still lives the samurai life, and he still carries a sword, but it's like a wooden sword.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not like, he's a main character that doesn't push you his ideals. Like, he doesn't tell you to be a samurai, but the way he is he lives the samurai life that he's able to attract people around him. And so it's basically a journey of him and the two other main characters that got attracted to him or wanted to join him. And the other two characters were Shinpachi
and Kagura.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll kind of talk about those two a bit later on, but it's basically a journey of the three of them that's kind of just from day-to-day life. They do random stuff, but they live how they want to live. They don't really follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And they formed a group that's called Yorozuya. Yorozuya is basically it's like where they do they accept random jobs here and there, and that's how they make money. But that's like that's like them showing the freedom of of not being chained to the government.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it day by day, and there's not a
they're not chained by any kind of like ideals, so that they don't follow the system.
Yeah, they don't follow the system.
Yeah. But that's like the underlying summary of the plot, right? Is what you would say?
Yeah.
That's like how they based the world off of, but the real thing was something completely different, right? Well, we find out later.
Yeah, but that's like way far from the anime. And at first you would think that this anime has no goals, or it's like it doesn't, like, how One Piece,
Luffy?
Yeah, Luffy, he wants to become...
He's trying to find the One Piece, and he's trying to be the Pirate King.
He's trying to be a Pirate King, and that's the main goal. Naruto, he's trying to be a Hokage, and and then Dragon Ball, I don't know. You talk about...
He's just trying to be the strongest. He's just trying to be... That's all Goku cares about. That's all he cares about.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
okay,
well, what's different about this anime is that for the majority of the first half of this show, you don't know what the end goal is. They don't really explain that to you because they do something a little different where it's very episodic throughout for like 200 episodes, right? That you're watching this.
They have like little... Like
mini arcs.
Mini arcs is like 2 episodes,
like baby arcs.
3 episodes.
Yeah, it's just like 2 episodes.
And those arcs are kind of like fillers. Matter of fact, each episode it's like a filler episode.
Like,
yeah. It's like you can probably literally click a random episode and it's not going to be related to anything.
You would think this is just a random story that they're doing right now.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It's weird, and it seems like, why would I want to watch that?
Yeah, and it's very comedic also, how they handle a lot of situations. Because Gintoki, he's not your traditional like shonen protagonist, because he's like 25 or 26 years old, right? He's a little bit. He's like a grown man.
He's on the older side, and there's usually shonen animes, they're like in their
14 or 15.
Yeah, they're like in their teenage years, and then you would be able to follow them as they grow up, and they increase their skills and they become more mature. With Gintoki, with this one, he's already mature. He's already a grown man.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to him. How he's like this good for nothing samurai. He can't pay his rent every month. He's always trying to get a job and scrap by with money he can. He carries around that wooden sword still because he carries that samurai spirit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to lose that. But even the sword that he carries around is like a joke that's continues on through the whole show that they never drop. Because what is the sword called? It was
Lake Toya.
It's a souvenir from like a lake you went to.
Like you would think it's something memorable.
Yeah.
It's like somebody
like Zangetsu from Bleach, like his sword, but it's like a souvenir sword.
or it's like something like a master that passed it down to him, or something that he gained, like like because it's a very strong sword. Yeah. No, it's just a random sword.
It's just a regular sword. It's little things that the show does like that really make it stand out and make it something different. It's very refreshing to see something like that, and it's really funny to watch too.
Yeah, it is. And then, it seems like the anime has no goal, and so it's kind of dragging too. It's kind of dragging. It takes a while for someone to really get into it. Like you it took like 30 episodes.
It was 30 episodes before I really got hooked. Because it was very, very slow at the beginning. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what are we watching right now? Because I didn't understand that this is what the show was going for. Because there were good episodes in that first 30. But I didn't really see where the show was going.
It's like, there's no point.
Yeah. It's like, alright, filler episode. No, that's the real canon. This is really part of the show. Another filler episode. Oh, no, this is canon too. And it just felt like that for the first 30. And then, at that point, I understood what type of show this was going to be.
Yeah, and then if you're the type of person that likes really good graphics, anime, this is probably going to be really hard for you to watch, especially on the first 100 episodes, probably.
Like 300 episodes.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because the graphics are kind of, like one of those old-timey. They're not that bad, but they're just not the best. But it does get better after a couple episodes later.
Yeah. The show's produced by Sunrise, which they also do all the Gundam, and they do Code Geass too. That's another memorable one that they do. They do Sunrise, right? Code Geass?
I think so.
Okay. But this is an older anime, so it starts off kind of like traditional squared versions. It's not like the full widescreen that we get in like more modern anime. But more to the story. Let's talk about Gintoki, like him as a character.
He, like I already kind of mentioned a while ago, he's a samurai that doesn't follow the rules, or he doesn't let anybody tie him down to a certain
He's
rule.
really aloof.
Yeah, he wants to be free.
And then he always gives this. He has this persona like he doesn't really care about people.
Oh, yeah.
Like the words he says it makes him seem like he doesn't care about like his friends and people in the community. but his actions are completely opposite from that. Because if he'll in situations he'll be talking to another character, and it'll feel like he's putting them down or like cutting down their goals or whatever they believe in.
Or he would just talk crap about them.
Or talk.
He would just he would think that those people are making stupid decisions or that they're on their own, that he's not gonna help. But he always ends up helping, and he always ends up being a big part of their lives, I guess. Yeah, basically.
And I think that's one of the big drawing points to him, because it seems like these characters that seem like they're loners and they just want to be, they hate other people, they get drawn to Gintoki. And even if they think they're enemies or they're rivals, they still lean on Gintoki for a lot of things, and they rely on him, and just because he's very dependable like that.
And he's also different from other shonen main characters, just because again, we already mentioned he's older, he's more mature. Also, he's not the typical shonen main character where very hyperactive and loud and just want to be friends with everybody. He's not like that.
Yeah.
He's very different.
Yeah, so his voice is very mellow, and then his expressions, they always call him his dead fish eyes.
Yeah, he has his dead fish eye. I don't know. And he has this silver curly hair
that everybody makes fun of.
Yeah. But it's like they made fun of it so much that they even created an episode where there's like an alternate character of him where it's like straight golden hair.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's just stuff like that.
Yeah, but the biggest thing that I love about him is that he's very flawed too, and it shows him making mistakes. Like he would gamble a lot, and he would like bet everything. In one episode, him and another character were at the slot machines, and they bet everything, so they left in like their underwear because they had bet all their money, everything they had. And then he drinks a lot too. He gets really drunk. He goes to the bars. He eats too much, and that's another thing. He has a really huge sweet tooth. He loves sweets.
Oh, yes.
That's like one of his big things.
How did I forget about that? Yes, he's a very sweet tooth character. If he's gonna go to a restaurant, he's not gonna order a proper meal. He's gonna order like a parfait, a strawberry parfait, or chocolate parfait, some kind of pudding, or whatever. Or he would put like something sweet on top of like a normal meal. Like, what was it? Like he would order like this sweet bean rice, I think.
Natto.
Yeah.
I think it's natto on his rice. I think, was it that?
No. It was like I think it was like a sweet bean rice or
that red bean.
The red bean, yeah. But anyway, he's just that weird. And he's not like, again, other normal typical shonen characters. They have this big appetite and they eat a lot and they like eating. Like Gintoki, all he cares about is desserts. He don't care about eating a lot. He just cares about desserts.
Yeah, that's his favorite thing.
That he even has a poster in his apartment behind his desk that says,
mind your sugar levels.
Yeah. Like, mind your sugar levels. Yeah. It's funny because it's like some people probably won't notice it because it's in Japanese characters and maybe some subtitles won't translate that.
Translate it, yeah.
But you just have to probably look it up and you'll figure it out.
It's like reminding him just don't eat so much sweets, but he just ignores it completely.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And in his fridge, you would see like a strawberry milk instead of
his favorite milk is strawberry.
Strawberry milk instead of like normal.
It's like a child.
Normal food, basically.
But I think that makes him super relatable though, because like normal people, they have their vices. They love their sweets. Like I love sweets too. But he gets drunk and stuff, and that's something they don't really show in like your traditional shonen anime, which is like a huge thing. But another thing that's major about him that he doesn't have any powers. He doesn't have any super. He doesn't have chakra or ki or
Yeah.
like special soul reaper powers.
Or
it's
anything
all
like that.
it's all just his abilities that he's using, which can be kind of deterring to some people. Deterring? I don't know. Deterring to some people, but I think that's another really huge point that stands out for the show of how they're able to make it entertaining and they make the fights entertaining without them having to have these special moves.
Or special powers.
Yeah, special attacks.
Yeah.
And that was another big thing.
Or training. I don't think he ever
There's never been a training arc.
There's
never been a training
There's
arc.
no training.
Yeah.
Basically, everything was from his experience when he was a child.
Yeah.
And then he just grew up and became strong by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no actual training. Yeah. He just learned along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's how he is. With his wooden sword, too. Mm-hmm. It's not like your special kind of sword, like a black sword or a sword that has fire around it or whatever. It's a freaking wooden sword from a store.
Yeah, that's another great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
basically they made him as normal as possible, as relatable as possible, in a way that they made him interesting enough for people to.
Mm-hmm. And they made him such a lovable character too.
Yeah.
Which is like, he's one of my favorite anime protagonists ever.
Yeah. Well, he's my favorite anime protagonist.
This is your favorite anime, yeah.
He's great. Yeah.
And then, a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit more about the show. It's we just love Gintoki.
Yeah.
But he in the show, we also mentioned it was a parody, right? So one big thing, it's based off a manga, and there's a lot of references to other popular animes and manga going on.
Yeah.
And it's also references to like Japanese culture too. That's another big point about the show.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of geared more towards mature audiences.
Mature audience and people like more veteran anime watchers that have seen a lot of anime.
Yeah, because they have a lot of references that you might not be able to get it or laugh with it, or you might not even like the episode just because you don't understand what they're talking about.
Because they'll reference anime and then they'll reference like real world stuff like like singers or something in Japan or something or news reporters, something like that.
Yeah, because even me, like I watch so many animes, so much animes, and there's still some that I still couldn't quite understand. Mm-hmm. And even with that, I mean, I still enjoyed it just because I love it, so I'm kind of biased. But you've got to have watched a couple of animes.
Mm-hmm. At least a lot of the popular ones.
Yeah, because they do reference a lot of Dragon Ball.
A lot of Gundam.
Yep.
They do so One Piece, Bleach, like the ones we mentioned before. They even do a few Naruto.
Yeah, they did. And so, but they won't directly, say it's from this anime, it's from Naruto. You would just know. That's why you have to know what they're trying to reference to, because, or sometimes they would say a line, a couple lines that's from an anime.
Yeah. And
you wouldn't know unless you've watched an anime.
Yeah.
And so it will be kind of
like one example would be the season ended, and then it was a few months before the next season came out, and then the first episode, it was like they made it seem like all the characters went through this intense training, and like they came back in the clothes from the Dragon Ball characters. And he had like the haircut like Yamcha from the show, and his hair was long, he had the scar and everything. And it's just it's like ridiculous stuff like that. And also there's another episode where they get washed up on an island and they think they're the only ones on that island. And it goes through like each of them finding each other, and they're all doing something embarrassing. Mm-hmm. So they find Gintoki, and he's practicing the Kamehameha, and he's just screaming it at the top of his lungs, like he's training in there. And then they find the another character. I think it was Katsura, where he's like they're talking about Laputa. It was like Castle in the Sky or
Yeah.
something. He was like looking for it in the sky.
Yeah.
And then two of the other characters like naked when they found each other. It's just ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah, so you might not find it funny if you don't even know what what Laputa is.
Yeah.
You know.
But it depends too on the one you're watching, because I think we watched it, I can't remember, it was online somewhere, but it would have the translation and it would give you like a reference. It would explain the reference they're making.
Yeah, some subtitles probably, if you watch it in some illegal website or some kind of those free websites, anime websites. I think like most of us have tried it before, at least before it started showing in Hulu or Netflix and Crunchyroll and all that stuff. Sometimes they would put subtitles on which reference it is, or who they're talking about, or which character they're referencing in. But a lot of the times they don't. So you just have to know it to appreciate it. Yeah. I know that can get kind of hard. Another thing with Gintama, why it's a good watch, is that you'll learn some history, some Japanese history from it. They do actually put real Japanese history in there, where like Edo was actually a real, Edo is what Tokyo was used to be called. Yeah,
that's just where the show takes place.
Yeah. Shinsengumi was a real police group.
Police force.
Back in the days. It's Shinsengumi, it's basically a military government made police group.
And they're under the shogun?
They're under the shogun's
control?
Yeah, control. Yeah. And shogun was actually a real thing too back in the days. That's what they used to call the military leader. The shogun. And so they would reference like a lot of Japanese history, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then one of the characters that's named Hijikata, he's actually a real person. And he was actually a Shinsengumi person.
He's
back in the day.
He was the vice chief in the show, right?
Yeah, and he is actually, I think, the vice president as well. Like back in the day, like he was a real person, and so they thought it out. It's not just random stuff, or it's not made up stuff, not completely made up. Obviously, the aliens invading
it's more
Tokyo,
futuristic.
It's not. So they this other weird thing. They kind of mixed the history of Japanese and then all these aliens invading Tokyo, Edo, which is like a very futuristic thing.
Yeah.
And then they kind of combined it. That could be one of the reasons why you would want to not watch it. It's just it's so random. There's aliens over here. There's samurais over here, and what type of people else are there? But anyway, there's just a whole bunch of
there's a bunch of different races on there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different races. Like one of the Kagura is one of the
Yato
main characters. Is a part of this clan. It's called Yato clan, which is like. This clan is crazy strong. Like just a whole bunch of monsters that can kill anything with like one punch.
Yep. And then their only weakness is that they can't go out in the sun. They all have umbrellas.
They have umbrellas.
Yeah. And that's that's the heroine of the show, Kagura.
Yeah. So
but that brings us to like the supporting cast is also very thought out, and each character's got their own special thing about them that makes them, even though they may not be important to every single part of the story, they're very memorable. Every single character, even just characters that pop up in just sides,
like filler kind of episodes, and they do become like a big part in the big arc that if you watch far enough. There's this big arc that's going to come, and everybody is involved. Everybody that you've seen in each episode would be involved in some type of way in this big, very important arc.
Yeah,
and so they're not just nobodies. They're not just extra characters just to make the show fun or whatever. They do have some kind of role.
Yeah, and it's really important too because I think the whole thing they were trying to do with these first few, like the first 100 episodes, was introduce these characters and make you love each one of them and care about them. So now you get invested to the show, and it feels like you have a connection with each of these characters, and now they're all thrown into the situation where they have to fight for their lives. They have to save one of their comrades, and it's just, you feel like this is happening to like a member of your family or something, because these characters are so real and you care about them. So you're watching this episode and you're actually worried about these characters and you don't want anything to happen to them, because even though they might be an important character, you never know if they're going to make it through this arc or this episode that you're watching.
Yeah, because some characters, like, they feel like they're stupid or they're very irrelevant, but they're not. They really do have a role.
Like, even the most minor characters have something important that they do.
Yeah. It just takes a while. It builds up. It takes a while.
And it's so worth it, too, because, like I said, it really does get you invested into these characters.
It is not the type of anime that will hook someone on the first episode, which is kind of bad to hear.
Yeah.
But it's good in a way that when you are deep into the episode, you know that you actually love the anime. And you know that you are going to keep watching it. Yeah. And you know it's not the type of anime that you would not finish. Because since you've invested so much in the anime and you've already loved it, you know that you're gonna keep watching it. Even if it's a filler episode, you know you're still gonna watch it because it's such a good anime. That's how it is. And it is not for everyone. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's not for everyone. You know how this mass population that loves Dragon Ball or loves Naruto, Gintama is so different that you might not love it. But if you do give it some time, and if you really wait and see, you'll end up loving it so much that it might just be your top 10 animes. Or, your top 100 maybe.
Top 100. But yeah, this was definitely, I think it's definitely a masterpiece that not a lot of people know about, because even the storytelling, just a simple single episode, will make you remember stuff and bring back feelings about it, just talking about it. Because you want to talk about this episode that the one that I love.
Okay, mind you that Phil is a manly man.
No.
But some episodes make him cry so much because
a lot of them do.
Because they're so good. Okay, do you want to, like, as an ending to this episode, you want to talk about this one of your favorite episodes? Maybe they can get them hooked up.
This was just even like, it was a one-off episode that was just, I think it was early on, like episode, like within the first 10 for sure. Yeah. I think around that much, but I don't even remember exactly how. I need to talk about like another one too. The one I talk. This one is just I'll just talk about it briefly. There's an episode where this old man and old woman, they're married, and the husband works on. They're becoming very distant, and he's kind of ignoring her. Their marriage isn't really working, and throughout the episode, they mention how when they first started dating, or when they first met each other, they would go see the fireworks all the time, or they would make fireworks. And in the marriage now, it seems like the husband's kind of losing it in his head, and he's not really all there now, and he's always in his shop working, and he's kind of ignoring the wife. So the wife's gonna leave him. I think that's what's happening.
I can't remember.
But
it's something like that.
But it's just
they just drifted off.
They drift apart. They argue, and then so she ends up leaving, and she's like, "Stay and work in the shed or whatever. Keep working, keep doing your work." And they're leaving. She's leaving with Gintoki and the rest of the crew, and then they're in a car and they're driving.
Are you okay?
Yeah, and then she sees a bunch of.
Okay,
what?
So you did mention that all this time he was working on something.
Yeah, he was working on something.
He was working on something.
And she
okay.
and then I think it was her birthday or anniversary. I couldn't remember what it was. I just remember feeling this. And then they're driving off, and then behind them, they just see fireworks. Fireworks going on. Yeah.
And where was the fireworks coming from?
From the shop. From the old man.
So the old man was... So the old man...
He didn't forget.
All this time, he never forgot about the wife.
He loved her so much.
He never forgot about her. Matter of fact, she is what's in his head all this time. She is what he's been thinking all this time. And he was making this firework. He was creating the fireworks for her. Mm-hmm. So all this time, the wife thought that he had forgotten about her. But all this time, he never forgotten about her.
Yeah.
And then Gintoki was the one who kind of helped the lady out for something. I can't remember what.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
But they were a part of the progress of the relationship, I guess. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's just one of the tearjerker episodes, and very heartfelt. And
then
I don't know if I want to
talk about that other one.
Which one?
It doesn't really ruin. I can say it without ruining anything.
No, it's okay. Well, this is spoilers, by the way.
Might be spoilers, just in case, guys. So, in the first... It might be the 4th episode, I think. 4th or 5th. He, the landlord that he lives... that he works for, he lives in... She owns a bar. The bar's downstairs, and he lives in the apartment upstairs. So, they established that in the beginning, but then we get the backstory of how they met. So, it was him... starving, and he was in a graveyard, and she had been...
This is when Gintoki was really young, like he was a child. Yeah. He was a lost child.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly
how
old
he was. And it was winter.
Yeah.
It was winter, it was snowing.
So the lady that owns the bar, she's there visiting her husband's grave, and she brought an offering of food and... Like
a meat bun.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of food, and then Gintoki says... do you mind if I have some? To the lady. Mm-hmm. And she's like, why don't you ask him? And she's talking about her husband. Mm-hmm. And then Gintoki doesn't say anything. He just starts eating
the meat buns.
The meat buns. And just starts eating them. And then she either said, like, you didn't ask him, or what did he say? And then Gintoki said, it doesn't matter, that I'm just gonna protect her, the old lady, for him, for the dead husband. He just promised he would protect Otose, the lady.
The landlord.
The
lady that was visiting
But we don't know that's happening, because all the interactions before is just like them arguing or messing around or complaining about their rent. But there's this connection they have, like this promise that binds him to her. And he would do anything to protect her. Yeah.
But anyway...
And then later...
Well, hold on, I don't think... Okay, well... Basically, Gintoki was... Because you were kind of joking. Yeah. Gintoki made a promise on Otose, which is the landlord's husband's grave, to protect her. This is like the way of him thanking her
for the food.
Yeah, thanking him for the food. Thanking him by protecting his wife forever until the day he dies.
Yeah, protect her forever.
Yeah, and so that's how also the landlord took him in.
Yeah, but that's how they have that connection. And then what I wanted to say later was it's episodes and episodes later. There's an arc where he thinks something happens to her, and the whole time we get Gintoki. He's never really serious, right?
Yeah.
He's just like really aloof. But then he thinks something happens to her, and the person that he thinks did it, he doesn't hesitate at all to attack him, and it's just.
This is one of the serious
It's
arcs.
one of the first serious arcs, and it's just you can see how he would do anything to protect her, and even for just a simple promise that he didn't have to keep at all, he would do anything for somebody.
You okay then?
Yeah, I'm fine. Alright.
But hopefully that kind of give you an idea what Gintama is, and that maybe you guys will, be a little bit more inclined to try watching it and investing some time. I'm saying investing because what we've been saying, it takes a while.
Put like 30 episodes in. At least watch 30.
Yeah, you really have to invest. Give it 30 episodes.
That's a lot.
I know that's a lot, but give it some time. It is really, really good. And it's one of the underrated shonen.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
And the OPs and endings are great too. I love the music.
Openings and endings.
The openings and endings. Yeah. We got most of them on my phone saved.
Yeah. I would talk for hours and hours about this anime, but I think for now that's all about Gintama.
Yep, we might go in depth on another later episode, but this is
maybe on the characters or maybe an arc that will help you anticipate as you keep watching the anime.
But yeah, this was why you should watch Gintama.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank y'all.